Ginetta Junior Championship rolls into the home of British Motorsport. The Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, always a classic venue for Ginetta Junior racing, and we've got pretty much perfect conditions here this afternoon for their fourth race of the season, their first of two here on the Silverstone Grand Prix layout. It's an overcast and rather chilly day. That wind is perhaps dying down ever so slightly though, and the main thing is the rain that plagued us through the morning has held off for the last few hours, so it's a dry circuit and a circuit that lends itself perfectly to racing for these Ginetta G40s, the junior example in particular, with their horsepower restrictions, meaning that the slipstream effect is all the more powerful. And of course they're not very big cars either, so the wide layout around Silverstone enables them to go 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 abreast at times. It's always a classic race and there's a good crowd on hand to enjoy it, sheltering away sensibly in the grandstands that are covered from the worst of the elements. They should have a real show on their hands. Pole position held by Henry Jocelyn. This though is the championship leader Isaac Phelps, car number 35, who starts alongside him on that front row of the grid. Isaac was twice a winner last time at Oulton Park. The other race victory went to Ethan Jeff Hall, who starts from the outside of row number 3, but it's a big grid, 26 of them lining up on the grid today. A couple of new names to fill you in on towards the back of that field, which we'll get to in a moment, but at the front, some of the early championship hopefuls and drivers who proved themselves to be championship contenders really at Oulton Park are assembled for what should be a very, very competitive pair of races. The Ginetta G56 safety car leads them off the line. It'll be a rolling start at the end of this lap, which will get us underway for our first race of the weekend. It will be a 20-minute race, so 5 minutes shorter than the race we saw earlier on, the Ginetta GT Academy, and even fewer laps, therefore, for the juniors. It's a long lap anyway, in qualifying, touching 3 minutes, albeit that was a damp qualifying session earlier on today, but still well over 2.5 minutes would be a dry green flag lap time here. And it's not really about lap times though with Ginetta Junior racing. It's all about the close racing. That photo finish camera always gets a bit of a workout whenever we come to Silverstone, because it's a surprisingly long drag actually out of Luffield through Woodcote and to the line, and that usually produces some really close finishes. It was pretty tight in qualifying. As I said, Henry Jocelyn took the pole position in the end by about 0.3 of a second over points leader Isaac Phelps, with Charlie Hart, who was the nearly man at Oulton Park, really in contention for race wins 3 times, but never did step on the top step of the podium. He's got Marcus Sater, the Norwegian, for company on row 2. Ethan Jeff Hall, the other race winner from Oulton, starts 5th alongside Chase Fernandez. James Shotton and Ruben Dan complete the 4th row of the grid. Ruben again had flashes of brilliance at Oulton Park. Archie Clark, meanwhile, and Tom Ingram Hill complete the top 10. Alfie Slater and Colin Cronin are at the back end of the first dozen of cars. Nickolas Ellis and Max Cuthbert are next on row 7, and row 8 shared by Jack Robinson and Alfie Davis. 9th row, Torin Byrne and Jude Peters. The top 20 completed by Felix Livesey and Ethan Carney. And then towards the back of this mammoth grid, Holly Mile and the first of the new drivers, Tiso Mabunda, with James Ellis and Mallory Mabunda, a pair of South African newbies running in the rookie class. Harry Moss, meanwhile, has better pace than 25th on the grid would suggest. He had lap times disallowed for track limits in qualifying this morning. He's got Giovanni Cassell Joseph alongside. Now, track limits is going to be a talking point. It certainly was in qualifying. It's a rather unique qualifying format in Ginetta Juniors. They only get 3 flying laps in their qualifying session, which often leads to some slightly jumbled grids. And that also means that if you do start exceeding track limits and having lap times disallowed, you'll find yourself at the back of the grid very quickly. So there are quite a few quick drivers who have a bit of ground to make up from their qualifying misdemeanors earlier on. On board here with Torin Byrne, who starts the number 18 car from 17th on the grid, one of a handful of onboard cameras that we've got out there again today. We've already seen that gives us a truly unique perspective of the close quarters racing in the GT Academy race earlier on, expecting the same to be true in the juniors. Tom Ingram Hill will carry an onboard camera from 10th on the grid. Tom Ingram Hill is another driver who had moments of impressive stuff at Oulton Park. Didn't make the podium, but a consistent set of races means that Tom is 8th in the points, arriving at Silverstone. And it's going to be interesting to see what he can do for this first race of the weekend at Silverstone. So cars making their way around Brooklands corner. Now, having just said that it's a rolling start. I'm now reminding myself it is not a rolling start for juniors, it is for the other two Ginetta categories, but they've still been led around on this green flag lap by the safety car, which is, in my defence, what confused me. The safety car does now pull into the pit lane, but there are marshals waiting on the grid to guide everybody into position. But the juniors, again, because they're limited on horsepower and limited on top speed, being a junior category, getting off the line is not super tricky. You don't tend to get a lot of wheel spin, you don't tend to see a lot of drivers stalling these cars, and so it's safe for us to have the standing start procedure, which means there's plenty of opportunities for a bit of a jumbling of the order heading through the first couple of corners. Got a glimpse there, by the way, of the R Racing number 28 car of Harry Moss. Definitely one to watch from the back of the grid. Seemed to have a bit of a breakthrough, I was being told, earlier on today during one of the free practice sessions yesterday. But those track limits infringements meant that he wasn't able to deliver on that in qualifying, but apparently has pace to put him well inside the top 10. Should move forward then from 25th on the grid. He's starting directly behind James Ellis in the number 4 car, the white car with the orange wheels. But there at the front of the field, we have our front row, car number 26, Henry Joslin. Henry was, in the end, probably a bit disappointed, actually, with how his Oulton Park results went. He ended up not scoring a podium, despite being in podium contention in all 3 races. Can he now convert pole position into, at the very least, a podium, maybe even a race win here at Silverstone? It's almost time to find out. The green flag should be waved very shortly at the back of the grid, which it has. The 5-second board is shown, the red lights will illuminate next, and then we're away and racing for 20 minutes in round number 4 of the Ginetta Junior Championship for 2024. Lights go out now after quite a long hold. Away they will go. Good start made from pole by Joslin by the looks of it, and I would imagine that he's going to hold on to the lead into Copse Corner for the first time. Up through the gears they go. Joslin does lead, with Isaac Phelps in 2nd position and Charlie Hart, I think, slotting into 3rd. So it's grid order at the front as they round Copse for the first time and make their way down towards Maggots and Beckett's. Look how busy the road is ahead of us. We're on board here with Torrin Byrne in the number 18 car, and there's just nowhere for them to go. A big slide from Joslin on cold tyres as he makes his way through the Maggots and Beckett sequence for the first time. But Torrin Byrne is in a world of trouble. Cars to the left, cars in front, cars behind, and nowhere really to go apart from round the outside through the right-hander, then onto the back straight. That is Livesey trying to find a gap in the traffic, so too was the number 25 of Ethan Jeff Hall, but this is where that slipstream will immediately start to take effect. Down the hanger straight, and perhaps our first of many lead changes could be imminent, with Isaac Phelps going to the outside. Torrin Byrne is on the inside of 3 cars. You don't know where to look, do you? Let's maybe focus on the leaders, where Joslin somehow has managed to keep Isaac Phelps at bay, actually. Got to the inside line, defended the lead. We're on board with the 3rd place man now, Charlie Hart. Phelps goes to the outside, to the inside goes Joslin, and in the end they come through the club chicane still in the same order they were in. 4th position, one of the R Racing cars, so couldn't tell who that was. It's number 67 of Marcus Sater, under threat though from Chase Fernandez, who's gained 1 from where he started at the expense of the 6th place man Ethan Jeff Hall. In the gravel though is Mallory Mabunda, one of those new drivers, and into the gravel I think at Beckett's has gone the number 19 car. Now the marshals were working hard to try and get that car out of the way, but it didn't look like it was proving easy. That could require a safety car intervention. Isaac Phelps, if that's the case, wants to try and get the lead before the safety car comes out, but couldn't quite do it into Village, and now goes up the inside, but there was definitely a safety car light flashing then into the loop, so he will have to back out of that move, which in fairness he's done. And I think maybe the same true actually of Marcus Sater. Yes, he'd gone past Charlie Hart, hadn't he, but lets Charlie back through. Generally, the clerk of the course will be fairly lenient on drivers in that instance. If you overtake somebody because you haven't spotted the safety car board, it's still a faux pas, but if you then immediately give the place back, you don't tend to get in too much trouble. But unfortunately, Mallory Mabunda in quite a bit of trouble down at Beckett's. That car going nowhere, and that is why the safety car's been thrown. That's a great shame though, because it was already looking like being one of those typical Silverstone Ginetta Junior races. But we've got plenty of time still to go. Hopefully they'll get this sorted pretty quickly. Maybe just the 1 full lap behind the safety car will be required. So around Luffield Corner they come then at the end of the opening lap. I'm trying to see where Harry Moss is. That was Harry, I think, wasn't it, in the 28 car? So yeah, he's gained a few positions in the grey and orange, I think, R Racing car. Started 25th. We'll see in a moment or two where he was at the end of lap 1, but there's no doubt about the race leader. That is Henry Joslin. who, despite a couple of challenges there from Isaac Phelps, still leads at the end of lap 1. Phelps second, Hart third, Sater fourth. So grid order for the top 4. The first change was Fernandez up ahead of Ethan Jeff Hall for 5th. James Shotton 7th. 8th position then for Archie Clark. 9th position for Slater, Alfie Slater that is, and the top 10 completed by Colin Cronin. So where was Harry Moss? 8 places gained, 17th at the end of the opening lap for Harry. And the safety car actually may be benefiting him now slightly because it bunches everyone together as if they needed bunching together any further, and gives him an opportunity perhaps to gain some more places. So there is Mabunda's car off the road, a long way off the track, you might think, but that is right in the firing line should another driver get it wrong through there and end up going off the track. So why the safety car's been scrambled. Haven't actually yet seen the safety car. There it is. They've caught it coming on to the hangar straight. So that will slow everyone down, bunch them together, and we hopefully will await a restart in the near future. Replays at the start. Look at the reaction time for Henry Jocelyn. That was a fantastic getaway. Not a good start for Ethan Jeff Hall. He actually, I think, lost more than 1 place on the run into Copse Corner, but managed to gain a few back by the end of the lap. But Jocelyn led them pretty cleanly into Copse, and it was further down the order where the drama would eventually strike through Maggotts and Beckett's. Might this tell us a bit more? That looked like a bit of a touch. Yes, it was. Now, that wasn't Nitiso Mabunda, was it, who made contact with the number 19 car? That could be a bit awkward. I'm not sure. It was another white car. The last 2 cars in shot. You might not see it from that camera. I couldn't quite spot the number of the car that made contact with Mallory there, but yes, that may have been a bit of friendly fire, I think, at the back of the field. Anyway, no major damage done, and the other car definitely did manage to carry on. This was the view from aboard car number 18 of Torrin Byrne. We saw a bit of this live, but we can now sit back and relax and enjoy the hectic opening half a lap or so of a Ginetta Junior race from the perspective of one of the midfield runners. So we've got a face full at the moment of the number 74 car of Alfie Davis, who chops across in front of us. That delays us, opens the door for one of the no, that's number 70 car actually of Jude Peters to come through on the right, and another one following through as well. And the outside now through Chapel. That was Livesey, wasn't it, who just about found a gap to the inside. So in fairness, Torrin said, right, well, if you're that adamant you're going to be on the left-hand side, I'm going to go to the right. The road opened up perfectly. Little bit of pushing and shoving, but through and punches the air in delight at that bit of racecraft. That is fantastic to see. You never see drivers react like that when they make a great overtake on track, but Torrin Byrne, unless that was a gesture of aggression or frustration, which I don't think it was. That was a fantastic reaction to what was a brilliantly aggressive but effective bit of racecraft there, heading onto the hangar straight. That was fantastic. So, the number 19 car is almost extricated from the gravel. The safety car, though, is down at Brooklands, and I don't think they're going to have time to restart the race this time. So another lap behind the safety car will follow. A lap behind the safety car is going to be well in excess of 3.5 minutes. So, in other words, we're going to have less than half the race to go when we go racing again, which is a bit of a shame. They'll try and pick the pace up, I'm sure, in the safety car once they realise that the track is cleared. Try and hurry us along. Of course, Henry Jocelyn, the only person here at Silverstone who doesn't really want the race to restart anytime soon, because he's got the lead. He's in a pretty comfortable position right now. As and when we go racing again, he's going to be anything but comfortable. Oh, now that's a slight added complication maybe to the recovery. The rear bodywork has come off the number 19 car, but doesn't seem to be hampering the recovery too much. Now, this is down at Stowe, and I've been told to watch out for car number 74, which is Alfie Davis, somewhere in the middle of the pack. Something's going to happen to him at Stowe Corner. What is going to happen to him? Nothing as of yet. They're all sort of sliding through. Oh, there we go. And it was contact with Livesey, and around he goes. So we missed that on the initial start. He ends up getting deposited in the gravel, but luckily sort of skitters through to the other side and manages to carry on. But Felix Livesey making friends, having already had a close moment with Torrin Byrne just a few seconds earlier than that. There was then contact made at Stowe. But remember, Torrin had just sailed past both of those, heading down the hangar straight. So that move that Torrin Byrne made, they were absolutely right to congratulate themselves, weren't they? Because that was a pivotal move in the end. Got them out of that mess down the Hanger Straight and into Stowe. And the incident therefore happened behind. So lights flashing then on the safety car, but hopefully not for too much longer. We're heading down towards Stowe. And yeah, the last lap, which was a full lap behind the safety car, was nearly 4 minutes in length. So we are looking at probably something like 9 minutes of racing when we resume. So the cars there towards the back of the field. Number 4, James Ellis. The number 21 is Giovanni Cassell-Joseph, who's gained 1 place from starting stone dead last on the grid. Not able to make the sort of progress that Harry Moss did from 25th, just 1 place further up. Down through the club chicane then. Great to see such a healthy grid of Ginetta Juniors this year. Grid numbers really picking up for 2024, which is what we like to see. It is still such a fantastically popular way to start your racing, or your car racing career, I should say, as a teenager. Almost all of these drivers will have had some karting experience, some more than others I'm sure, but it is possible to step straight into Ginetta Juniors and be winning. Not easy to do necessarily, but karting experience certainly will help you. And it's many of those karting tactics actually that come in handy when it comes down to the racecraft involved in Ginetta Junior racing, particularly in the closing stages of a race. Karting mentality of just going for every gap that produces such a great spectacle for us to enjoy. A spectacle which I'm hoping we're going to see resume in just a few seconds' time, because as we tick towards half-race distance, the lights are out on the safety car and we're going to go racing once again. So Henry Josselin, having nailed the standing start, now needs to try and do the same with a rolling start. He's backing everybody up for now. I think he's going to try and go early, you know, and try and accelerate going into Brooklands perhaps. He hasn't yet hit the loud pedal. On board with Charlie Hart in third there, the number 50 car, still they're bunched together. Accelerating on the apex maybe at Brooklands. Thinking about it, but no, not yet. So, as I confidently predicted, he's going to wait until the very last second before accelerating. It's good to do it usually midway through a corner. That can sometimes catch the cars behind on the hop a little bit. The safety car has long since departed for the pit lane, but Henry Josselin in no hurry to get this race started. 9.5 minutes to go now, and still he hasn't accelerated away. Now he starts accelerating through the gears, and, well, that didn't really work, did it? Because Isaac Phelps is only a car length behind, and with the slipstream effect, that will be down to nothing, you would imagine, by the time we reach Copse Corner. So Henry Josselin is going to have some defending to do. And could that benefit the third place man, Charlie Hart, maybe? Up the inside looks Isaac Phelps into Copse Corner. He's going to try and go for the race lead, is he? But Josselin turns across his nose. Perhaps the camera angle was a bit deceptive there. It looked as though there was an overlap, but by the time they come off the corner, Josselin retaining the race lead. It's Phelps who is slow off Copse as a result of his tight line in. So Charlie Hart closes back in to make it well and truly a trio for the lead through Beckett's. Over the curbs they go. Phelps perhaps drifting a bit wide there. Doesn't seem to have a huge amount of grip, does he, on cold tyres? The car really moving around noticeably more than Charlie Hart, which is hooked up nicely. Rides that apex curve as they head towards the Hanger Straight, but can he find a gap on the inside? The answer is no. He's pointing at something, is Charlie, and perhaps gesticulating to Isaac that he's going to work with him down the Hanger Straight rather than trying to overtake. That's sensible, and that's the kind of racecraft you'd expect from a driver in his second year of racing in Ginetta Juniors now, Charlie Hart. Knowing that it's not worth fighting just yet, let's not allow Henry Josselin to break away, because if they work together now, they might both have a chance of getting past him a bit later on. Back on board with Torrin Byrne now, car number 18. That looked a bit like track limits. It wasn't just Torrin, in fairness, it was the car ahead as well doing the same, which I think is number 45 of Robinson. All still there as they drop down through the club chicane. Josselin actually a bit wide coming out of club, out of the first part of club anyway. In the day used to be one long, continuous, never-ending right-hander. It still sort of feels like that, but with two distinct apexes to aim for. The second one by far the most important, though, to carry the speed down the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight into Abbey Corner, where it's now 4 for the lead, with Marcus Sater closing in on the number 50 car ahead of Charlie Hart, the Elite Motorsport machine. Through Village. Henry Josselin, though, continuing to lead the way for Prep Tech UK, but for how much longer up the inside launches Isaac Phelps at the loop. That was a very spirited attempt to the move, but I don't think it's quite going to work, because Josselin will have that momentum on the high line and carries that momentum all the way back through into the lead through Aintree. Phelps is once again now going to be a bit vulnerable, I think, down the Wellington Straight. Charlie Hart just waiting for an opportunity to move into second place. Is he going to continue working with the second placed man? Remember, these two are teammates for Elite Motorsport. And round the outside goes Isaac Phelps, but Charlie Hart this time might have no choice but to battle his teammate, because Phelps is not making friends with the apex there at Brooklands. There's a bit of a touch between the two of them. All that nearly went wrong, but Phelps hangs on to it, hangs on to second place. Further back, meanwhile, Chase Fernandez there, battling away with Marcus Sater. That's for fourth position. Sater out into the gravel, and he is going to be hung out to dry now. Ethan Jeff Hall will come through. James Shotton will try to take advantage as well in the number 17 car. Look, he's looking to the inside line as they head for Copse, but no, Marcus Sater just got that gap closed. And we'll hold on to what is sixth position through Copse corner. So yeah, Phelps in a bit of a precarious position here with two teammates lined up behind him. PrepTech UK do run a few cars in this championship, but Henry Josselin, the quickest of them in this race, he doesn't really have any friends up there to help him. You do feel that if Phelps and Hart were to work together in tandem here down the Hanger Straight, they might both be able to find a way past him. Let's see if that's what happens. Neat and tidy for both Phelps and Hart as they head out through Chapel, down the Hanger Straight, both of them in the dirt actually slightly on the exit of the corner. Now we see the slipstream start to bunch them all together already in sixth gear, look, before they even get to the bridge halfway down the Hanger Straight. That was who going wide? That was, I think, maybe Peters, wasn't it? As there's a challenge for the race lead, and this time to the inside at Stowe looks Isaac Phelps. He keeps getting to the inside of Henry Josselin, though, and just not being able to make the move stick. Charlie Hart once again has a run. Again, I think just lifted off the throttle slightly there so as not to put his teammate under too much pressure. Phelps looking to the inside at Club. This has got disaster written all over it, hasn't he? Because he's getting desperate now with these lunges. But the inside line is not always the fastest way around a corner in a low-powered car such as these. It's all about your average corner speed, keeping the minimum corner speed as high as possible. And sometimes those wider sweeping lines can be the way to go. The inside at Abbey is normally a good place to be, though. Is it going to prove so for Isaac Phelps? He's got his nose in front, gets his whole car in front, does he? He's not quite clear. Ushers Henry Josselin over the edge of the road, but finally Isaac Phelps is in the lead, and Charlie Hart now tries to come with him as well. Looks to the inside into Village. On the outside line, though, Josselin is later on the brakes. They're three abreast behind her. Chase Fernandez is into fourth position. I know it says on the timing tower he was fourth anyway, but I don't think he was going into that sequence of corners. They're all over each other as they head through the loop, and we're briefly on board with Charlie Hart, who still hasn't found a way past Isaac Phelps. He's on the inside line through Aintree. There's going to be a bit of paint traded for sure, but still Henry Josselin standing his ground on the outside line. Look how Phelps moves over to the inside there, though, to give the slipstream to his teammate Charlie Hart, trying to bring the second Elite Motorsport car through into second place. Is it going to work? I don't think it is, because Josselin is late on the brakes, sweeps around the outside, and might even have a go for the race lead into Luffield. No, there isn't quite a gap on the inside line, but this is the kind of Ginetta Junior racing I was hoping to see here at Silverstone. It's the perfect track for Ginetta Juniors. Look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them in a line, apart from Chase Fernandez, who breaks ranks and goes up the inside of Charlie Hart, and just like that, Charlie is off the podium. Oulton Park was a bit like this for Charlie. He was in second place an awful lot at Oulton and terrified to try and make a move for the lead in case he got shuffled out, and it's happened again here at Silverstone, where Henry Josselin, by the way, has just gone back to the lead at Copse corner. So Josselin back through, but Phelps will have had more momentum on corner exit, might choose to challenge again into Maggots and Beckett's, which he does. Side by side for the lead through the left. They fling the car into the right-hander. That surely will be Phelps' corner, but Josselin still just won't give in and somehow manages to sail round the outside at Beckett's and hangs on to the advantage. Brilliant racing this from Henry Josselin, who just won't give in, will he? Isaac Phelps got 2 victories over him at Oulton Park. In fact, in the end, Henry wasn't able to win any of the races at Oulton, despite being one of the fastest drivers on the track, and he's determined not to let the same thing happen again here at Silverstone. Is there a gap on the inside for Phelps? Yes, there is. Can he make anything of it? The answer is, well, maybe. He forces the issue. Chase Fernandez, though, is going to be an extra complication in this battle now, because he's right with them in third position. We're on board with Charlie Hart in fourth. Where do you go? Fernandez has got the same question, really. In the end, goes with Josselin on the inside line. Josselin, I think, is going to get the lead. There was contact, though, between Fernandez and Phelps is sideways, gathers it together, but look at the momentum that cost him through. Goes Hart through attempts to go Ethan Jeff Hall, but he's well off the road, and actually, I think that Phelps might be able to keep both of those R Racing drivers behind him. Down the international pit straight we go. This is terrific racing, isn't it? This is the kind of racing that really only Ginetta Juniors are capable of producing. 3 wide through Abbey. That's not going to work. Someone had to back out of it. Thankfully they did. And that's going to create another little concertina effect heading into Village. Now, don't be fooled into thinking that the only good racing is going on inside the top 10. This is Torrin Byrne, who's not had a quiet moment in this race yet. There's a great battle going on involving 3 or 4 cars outside of the top 10. But how do you dare take your eyes off this battle where there is inevitable contact? And around goes the 27 car. The rear bumper is peeled away, and that is Alfie Slater, unfortunately, parked in the middle of the road. Another pack of cars is coming. They split left, they split right, and somehow none of them collect him. That was, by the way, Harry Moss, who's just sailed past that whole group. So Harry Moss is just on the fringes of the top 10 now, having started down in 25th position. Deep breath, everyone. We've got one more lap of this still to go. 3 of them have... yes, I'd call that a breakaway at the front of the field, and then everyone else trying to be 4th position. Up the inside line goes Ethan Jeff Hall, who last we saw well off the road up at Club Corner, but he just moved back into 4th ahead of Isaac Phelps, whose race has unravelled with that one little touch that he had down at Club with Chase Fernandez. Torrin Byrne here trying to shimmy through on the inside line. The race performance driver about to gain a position, I think, at the expense of the number 31 car. That is Livesey, isn't it? Felix Livesey. Those two have been together all race long. And then they've got Jude Peters joining in as well. We are disappointingly, though, onto the final lap of the race. And Harry Moss's car tells a story, doesn't it? The front bodywork loose on the number 28 car, but it is up into, well, 14th actually, not quite on the fringes of the top 10 as I thought it might have been. We've had a change for second. Charlie Hart, look, has got himself back ahead of Chase Fernandez. So can Charlie finally get himself a race victory? I mean, Henry Josselin asking himself the same question, really, and Chase Fernandez, actually. All 3 of these drivers were race-winning contenders at Oulton Park, but not one of them managed to get to the checkered flag first in any of the 3 races, but they've well and truly distanced themselves now from an all-out brawl that has broken out for 4th position, and that is now James Shotton in 4th place. Sater in the number 67 car looks to the outside, but might actually lose out now to Clark, who goes through on the inside in number 43, and that, I think, is going to work pretty nicely, actually, for Clark, who should gain a position by the time they get down towards Club Corner. The leaders are still in the same positions. 4th place, quite frankly, is anybody's guess. I think it's still James Shotton, is it? Yes, it is. So James Shotton still at the front of this group, but is that going to be the best place to be, really? Heading down the Wellington Straight in a few moments' time. That's Isaac Phelps, who I think is well and truly fed up of this race, isn't it? He's desperately trying to hang on to 6th position, with Ethan Jeff Hall on the outside of him into Abbey Corner. We know the outside can work around here, but not that far to the outside. Well, in fact, they're both beyond track limits, really, there, and that's going to benefit, if anyone, the driver of the number 43 car of Clark. Right, let's focus on the leaders, though, because we've only got a few more corners to go, and I think Charlie Hart is setting himself up here for one last-ditch attempt through the final few corners, and that will help him. Henry Josselin getting a snap of oversteer just as he hit the accelerator coming out of the loop. Charlie Hart has got the run now through the Kincardine tree. Can he get to the inside line? Josselin is going to hug the white line down driver's left and give Charlie Hart no option but to go to the outside. He pulls out of the slipstream, gets a bit of a side draft, pulls fully level, gets his nose ahead, but he's faced with the long way round now down at Brooklands Corner. Josselin is desperately late on the brakes. He's going to sail straight on, but Charlie Hart couldn't quite time the switchback and ends up getting a faceful of car number 26. Through Luffield they will go, and actually Chase Fernandez, now the danger man, maybe in 3rd place. Hart is sideways through Luffield, and that, I think, is going to let Henry Josselin off the hook. Henry Josselin's been at the front of this race for the majority of it, but never by more than a car length or so. His winning margin is going to be enormous, actually, based on how the rest of the race went. He crosses the line in the end, just under 4/10 clear of Charlie Hart, who has another 2nd place finish to add to his tally. He had 3 of them at Oulton Park. It's another 2nd place for Charlie here at Silverstone, and 2nd place Charlie is going to be getting well and truly fed up being so near, yet so far from winning races. Chase Fernandez, meanwhile, comes home in 3rd, with James Shotton a fighting 4th place. Where did James start? 7th on the grid, wasn't he? A terrific opening race of the weekend for the Ginetta Junior Championship, won by Henry Josselin. His first victory of the season here at Silverstone.